brought India back to the Me Too movement, revived horrific memories of survivors who braved a lot to speak up and say #MeToo. Sajid Khan, the director who's been accused of sexual assault allegations by half a dozen women from different fields who had reportedly been inappropriate with female actors under the guise of casting them, asking them to send him their nude pictures and worse. This week, Sajid Khan was invited onto one of India's most popular reality TV shows as a contestant on the Bigg Boss, hosted by Salman Khan, and it's led to an outrage and some solidarity too. The #MeToo movement became a watershed moment in history by bringing to light accounts of sexual harassment and misconduct at the workplace. However, 5 years on, after it first gained prominence, after it made headlines, where do we stand? What are the consequences faced by the accused? A man accused of sexual misconduct by several women, given a platform on a national level. Does this prove yet again that men in power rarely have to bear the consequences of their actions? And does this mean that the #MeToo movement has been a failure in India? First, on We the People, I have on former Bigg Boss 2 contestant Payal Rohatgi, who joins us from Mumbai. Payal, you have supported, you have supported this filmmaker Sajid Khan, whose appearance on the Bigg Boss 16 is being criticized widely. You wrote an Instagram post about this. Why?
My stand, Sara J, is that we live in a democratic country and we all have a point of view. Now, in this democratic country, a lot of people are the, followers or people who think with the thought process of Mahatma Gandhi, where a lot of thought, goes with rehabilitation, reformation of criminals, murderers, and people who have committed crime. Now, Sajid Khan has been accused of molesting, behaving badly by the women publicly. I don't know exactly, has he accepted the accusations? Has he accepted the wrongs that he has done, or he has just not, addressed the whole thing in his opening episode. But whatever may be the reason, Bigg Boss is known for inviting controversial people, and Sajid Khan does qualify as per that criteria. Now, the ladies are hurt because they are not called on the platform and Sajid Khan is called on the platform. I understand their emotions, but we have to go with what the society is all about. Now, Sajid Khan, if is not a good human being and if is not liked by the people in the show, outside the show, he should be evicted from the show very soon. And Salman Khan, as a host, because he is a public figure and a superstar and the show has a fan following, he needs to address this issue so that his image and the show's image is not tarnished. Because the way things are going on outside. That's my point of view. But I do support his participation because everybody has the right to repent and rehabilitate as per the way the world works.
But Payal, can you have rehabilitation, reformation without acknowledgement, without even accepting your sins or apologizing for it? Because Sajid Khan hasn't said sorry anywhere, as far as I know.
No, so that's where I feel, because Sajid has not even apologized publicly, nor has he even addressed the topic, he's either in a mode of denial or he's not accepting either in the mode of denial, which is not accepting the allegations. So then, as a host, it is very important for Salman Khan to address this topic because he has to do it, because it's affecting his image and the show's image also. A person who has not apologized is somebody who cannot be reformed because he has not accepted the crime. He has not even been punished for it because I don't think the matter is in court. So here, yes, the women are correct because they haven't been even given an apology by the person whom they have accused of misbehavior. But yes, this participation you can't stop because that's the way the show's format is.
Participation you can't stop. Well, then what message does this send out? What does this say to the women who bravely spoke up about their harassment against the odds, about how hard it is to be a working woman? And what message are we sending out that don't speak up, chup raho, wohi better hai? Let's bring in Trisha Shetty, founder of She Says, Vandana Shah, an advocate joining us from Mumbai, Nazir Abdullah, actor. actor, and Sukirti Chauhan, public rights advocate. She has started a petition to remove Sajid Khan from Bigg Boss, and Dilip Cheran, image guru, founder and consulting partner at Perfect Relations. But I just want to touch upon, I don't think I shared this, what Payal Rohatgi wrote on her Instagram story. She says Sajid Khan has done wrong with 6 women, as they've narrated publicly. He's been reprimanded by all and publicly humiliated for his actions. Now the 6 women can take him to court. But let me put on record that even murderers have been given the right to reform by the values of Mahatma Gandhi. And here even Sajid Khan has the right to live. He has the right to earn money. He has the right to repent. I want to touch upon this important bit that she talks about. They should go to court. Is that easier said than done? We have advocate Vandana Shah. She's been guiding women on getting legal recourse for the hashtag #MeToo in India. And after the movement, once these stories broke, we had about 80 or so lawyers across India who volunteered on Twitter to provide pro bono legal advice to survivors. She was one of them. We had a directory in the form of an Excel sheet with contact details that was created and shared on multiple social media platforms. And Vandana Shah, is that easier said than done? Payal Rohatgi says now the women have to take him to court. Why should he not be allowed to go on Bigg Boss? Why should he not be allowed to earn a living?
Good evening, Sarah. Thank you for having me on the show. You know, I just want to say, you can see I'm wearing black. You kept on talking about Me Too movement being a failure. But I'm also wearing a white rose because you have lawyers. Can you see my white rose? Okay, because you have lawyers like me who still provide hope. So the Me Too is not a complete failure. But is it difficult to go to court? Of course it's difficult to go to court. You know, the court system is stacked against the women. We are not even talking about making it easier for them. You know, we are all top lawyers. We volunteered our services and we said, you know, let's get these women to court. But despite that, it has been a very slow journey. There has been a lot of social ostracism that the women face. They come in with all guns blazing, but the court system gets exhausting. You know, and I think that is a really bad thing that happens to them. And secondly, Payal spoke about going to court. I've got an easier recourse. Why doesn't Bollywood form their posh committees? Posh committees, if you have more than 10 employees, as per the prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace, you can have a posh committee. Yeah. Once you have a posh committee, why don't you have the internal committee look at it? But the posh committee cannot be headed by a man. You see, what is happening is, I am complaining against the man, and the man is the head of the posh committee. That is what has happened in one of the cases that has come to me. So you see, you have to follow due diligence. And you can also... But
I think you brought up an interesting angle. Let's bring in Bollywood, right? Nasir Abdullah joins us. He's an actor. Nasir Abdullah, you have an hashtag #MeToo accused being given such a huge national platform, while you have the female actors who've accused him of harassment continuing to struggle to find decent work in your industry. What does this say about Bollywood? And, you know, hasn't Bollywood treated similar cases, Hollywood treated similar cases very differently?
Yeah, actually Bollywood has actually tried to do things like the Nana Patekar problem happened with this other actress, and she had really said she got very upset, and she was very young and she was not the type to be able to deal with this, and it was very unfortunate that all that Nana had to do was to say, look, I didn't mean to upset you, etc., and if I gave you the wrong impression, I'm sorry. He didn't apologize. He was very strange. He was very arrogant about it. And, you know, the actress's name, whatever that her name was. And then, so I thought that actually Sajid Khan had apologized, but it seems he hasn't. So that means they did not bring up the matter strongly enough to have him apologize, because a lot of people who were accused of the Me Too thing either went into hiding or they got married.
Nasir Abdullah, let me ask you, Payal Rohatgi made another point where she's saying this platform is okay because Bigg Boss has historically always brought on controversial, people on their show as panelists. Now, if he had been invited on, let's say, a news program, there she's saying an outrage is understandable, not for this. So I want to ask you, do you think the Bigg Boss, Colors, the producers of this show should have done some introspection. Have they been tone deaf to invite him on? Or is everything okay for TRPs in Bollywood?
Yeah, I think it is for the TRP. They get the person who will be in a shadow, and they'll be like eyebrows raised, and that's why him. They got Abu Salim's wife, some Bedi lady or whatever. She was the wife of this guy, was a Don. So they seem to bring in the people fast. I don't know why they do it, but I think it helps for the TRPs, etc. I don't know why they do it, but they do a lot of it.
Well, how much is too much? Let's bring in the audience over here. Let's get your views on all of this.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We have Honey and Jayendra Pandey. Go ahead with your questions.
I am Hani Kumar. According to me, the right punishment for such a person is to make them feel what they have done. So don't you think that he should be allowed to come to the show and the public would show him? And the public would show him that how much they hate him. And they don't forgive these people who disrespect women.
All right, Dilip Cherry, this is a fascinating point where Honey is raised over here. He's echoing what Payal Rohatgi has actually said. It's very interesting that we have come to a point where it feels as if Sajid Khan is going to have to face justice or meet his judge on a TV show, where the public and this TV show will decide whether he was right or wrong.
I think that there is a very, very easy way to judge this. First of all, Bigg Boss is not an issue of your right to a profession. Bigg Boss is a entertainment thing which goes into your home, which is done, as everybody has acknowledged so far, it's a TRP race. So
but he gets paid for this, reportedly around 4 to 5 lakhs per week.
He gets paid for it, but this is not his profession. This is, in a sense, a bonus of his profession. That's one.
Okay.
The question is, does the list of people who you are showing as Me Too accused and who have been accused of this over the last 2 years have been allowed to rehabilitate themselves? Because, in a sense, the Me Too campaigns in India have really failed to hit their mark. As a society, failed. Yeah, as they have failed. So we are talking of a society which is now saying, hey, this is all right. We've ostracized you for a little while, but now let's all kiss and make up and let's have you refurbish your public persona so that it's all hunky-dory again. What does this imply for women, for their safety at the workplace, for their safety in a social environment? Is the question that not just women, but men as a society ought to look at. And I think media plays a role here, and media cannot shy away from it, because media is the mouthpiece of what social norms and social discourse ought to be. So going to the court, as Vandana says, is possibly one way, but that is not the only way. There needs to be much more, and Nasir alluded to this, that look, it may be this and it may be that. But the fact is that when you know there has been wrongdoing, whether or not the case has been proven in court, it is the duty of those with the ability to draw that line to say, these are people who've crossed the line.
Vandana, quickly to you were disagreeing. Please make your point quickly so we can move on.
In a minute. No, I'm agreeing with what he's saying. I'm saying that yes, we should have posh committees. I disagree with what Payal is saying about the right to a livelihood, because these girls have lost their right to a livelihood.
Yeah.
They are facing the consequences of speaking the truth. So if I am a hero, I should be punished. But sorry for using this term. If I'm a villain, I'm going to be rewarded with money. I'm going to be rewarded with fame. I'm going to be rewarded with work. Mr. Cherian said that's his additional work. But it is work. He is getting paid for it. And
this is a reflection of us as a society then.
And also, why don't we just have posh committees? You know, that
okay. Let's bring in Jayendra Pandey. We have somebody else in the audience. Go ahead, Jayendra, with your...
The basic principle of natural justice is audi ultum partum, which means that we have to listen the other side as well. Okay. And the main part of that movement, Me Too movement, is that there is allegation but no evidence. So we want that the cases should be free and fair. Then only we can decide the sides.
Trisha Srivastav. Allegations but no evidences. There have been evidences also. In many cases, we've talked about how difficult it is to take on the system. But Trisha Srivastav, let me ask you what one of the questions people have been asking. Does this mean the Me Too movement... Trisha Shetty, does this mean the Me Too movement has failed? In your response to Jayendra Pandey, who is asking, he's a young student in college, he says there have been allegations but no evidences. Trisha Shetty, we've heard this argument made before in the past. Your response?
So, in terms of that, right, that is not a wholly correct statement. First, there has been evidence by multiple of these women. The reason why Me Too was powerful is not because when these women were subject to sexual harassment at the workplace, they did not speak up. It's the fact that they spoke up, and the workplace that was legally liable to protect them, not just within the workplace, but also go to the police station. That is one of the provisions under POSH, where once you are aware that someone who you were legally supposed to make sure that they have access to a safe working environment has been allegedly subject to sexual violence, you are supposed to launch an internal investigation. But if the allegation is also of criminal nature, which is if it is defined as a crime under the IPC, you are also supposed to help the survivor by going to the police station and assisting them through the criminal process as well. Right? So these women, time and again, we know from Tanushree Datta onwards, did seek legal recourse, did go to redressal agencies. What happened is they were systematically shut down, they were intimidated, they were harassed. So when we speak of evidence, what evidence do you want? Do you want women to put cameras on their heads at all times? The unfortunate reality is, as an Indian society, the only evidence people seem to be happy with is a woman's dead body. And even then, they want to know just how brutally she was assaulted or raped, to then perhaps think maybe she's worthy of justice, right? When it comes to Me Too failing, let's talk about who failed Me Too. It's the same men in positions of power and privilege that protected these sexual assaulters and predators that continue to fail the movement. It's not surprising that a show run by a man with a criminal record as the host is now protecting another man who has serious sexual assault allegations against him. What are the repercussions that the survivors face, right? An advocate very eloquently spoke about that before, the colleague here. They, one, have faced social repercussions of social stigmatization, social trauma, ridiculous things like why didn't you slap them? Strong women don't have Me Too stories. Strong women slap their accusers right away. Victim blaming, shaming. They have faced economic loss, financial loss. They got ostracized from the industry. They have suffered loss of income. On top of that, when they did the right thing and went and reported, they were systematically shut down by the system set up in place to give them access to justice and deprived of that too. And when they're coming in solidarity saying, hey, this happened to me too, and demanding solidarity in numbers, we're still doubting them. The simplest thing would have been, when we speak about rehabilitation of these men, what have these men done to rehabilitate themselves? Have they accepted that they sexually harassed people? Have they once apologized? Have they once asked the survivors, what can we do to rectify this? Have they faced any sort of economic repercussions? No. And yet you see men, I'm sorry, it disturbs me greatly that the young men on this panel who are asking questions don't seem to ask questions of men within their own system, right? Who are these harassers? They are harassers within our system, within our friend circle. You have no problem questioning a woman and her integrity when she dares to speak up to demand for justice. But you will not question the men within your own circle, right? And hold them accountable to higher standards. As survivors, we are supposed to be held to higher standards and be the ideal victim. That is completely unjust. And Bigg Boss should be ashamed of itself. Salman Khan, I mean, maybe that man doesn't even deserve to be ashamed, considering he can't hold himself to higher standards. But this is the culture we are feeding our younger generation.
This is the culture we're in. As Dilip pointed out, we're not getting justice in our police stations. We're not getting it in our courts. And in the end, perhaps it's up to the media to keep the pressure on. It's up to the public to keep the pressure on. We have Sukirti Chauhan joining us. Sukirti, you and your partner started a petition to get Sajid Khan off this show. Why did you do this, and what do you hope to achieve from it?
Thank you for having me on the show, and I speak on behalf of Chandana Hiran, who's a young student, and both of us came together. A lot of things have already been said, but I just want to come in and say we started this petition because we want him evicted for obvious reasons of some very serious sexual allegations against him. I don't need to narrate them. It's all over the internet, but from flashing to forcing them to do things to undressing them, just because he has the power to do it. By bringing him on to Bigg Boss, you are reiterating that, power will strive over the women who've come together to tell their stories and their narratives so bravely. We want to question that power. We want to question this patriarchy. In fact, I just want to share that, it's easy to say that he's on this platform and the public will judge them. And this petition has 15,000 Indians standing behind it, and it's growing every day. But it also goes on to show that people do have an opinion. They do want to do the right thing. And it's time that we do it. We cannot celebrate this misplaced sense of masculinity, this misplaced sense of I can get away with everything, and use platforms which reach to millions of people. So we did this because we were deeply disturbed. We did this as young women who want other women to have safer futures, to have access to safe spaces to work in. In fact, we often talk about, morals. I think men are judged very differently, moralistically, when it's versus women. I think women just bear the moral burden a lot more than men ever have to. In fact, the previous speaker reiterated that it's always the women that have to come forward, show the evidence, defend themselves, and I think enough is enough. And the hashtag that's trending is Evict Sajid Khan, and that needs to happen right now.
Well, this is, I want to say this is a special show because this is for the first time in over 2 years that we have an audience in. So let's listen to some of them. Let's get Chahat, Goyal and Shruti.
Hello, I'm Chahat Goyal. So my question is, the person who has harassed so many women, the person who don't have ethics that how to talk with women, how can such a person be still given the right to work with women? And if the female contestants in this Bigg Boss show have to suffer anything due to him, then who will be responsible for that?
Who will be responsible for that? I think that's a valid question. Shruti, go ahead.
Promoting people like Sajid Khan, who is accused of #MeToo by several girls, doesn't seem like promoting rape culture and sexual harassment of women in workplace. Or is it okay to promote people with serious allegations on national television?
Do we have time for one more? Aniket or Shubham Shekhar? Go ahead. Is there an Aniket, Shubham Shekhar? Anyone else with a comment? Go ahead.
My concern is that makers do know the reality of contestants. Still, they choose them.
Yeah.
I want to know that even the female consultants that are present in Bigg Boss, why aren't they against Sajid Khan? Or is it just a public stunt for TRP?
Public stunt for TRP. Dilip Cherian, it's all about PR. It's all about, presentation. It's about your narrative. And he gets a platform in the end to, to design this narrative, to mold this narrative and put out his version now on this huge platform. Last word to you.
That is the unfairness of it. Does he deserve a platform like this, which gets TRP for a variety of other reasons, to either vent or cleanse himself? Is this fair on the viewers, on the women? And as I think one of the audience asked, is it also fair on contestants in the house who may have a sense of being violated? I'm not saying that he's going to do anything because the cameras are on 24/7. But The fact is that you're talking of a situation where a person who has not yet appeared in court has the opportunity to use a very, very powerful
And this seems to be the court of the public. As Payal says, Salman Khan will ask him the questions, ask him what he did. They will have to bring this up. Trisha Shetty, unfortunately, we're completely out of time. But thank you, all of you, Trisha, also all of you, for always coming and speaking up. And as Dilip says, keeping the pressure on. Thank you all for joining us on We the People. Good night.